Let's talk about El Paso. Beautiful scenery. And rich with culture. But most importantly, the home of UTEP football, where our story begins. Oh yeah, how's everyone feeling? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to my UTEP Dynasty here in College Football 25. The way I'm going to do this dynasty is what I've called a long-term dynasty. We're not going to rebuild UTEP in 1 hour-long episode. We're going to rebuild UTEP over many episodes, where I will hopefully share as many details as possible along the way about recruiting, storylines, highlights from games, and along the way, we're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully you fall in love with certain players and find reasons to enjoy the series and support UTEP and support me. And speaking of, if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button below, show your support, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join our ever-growing family here. Comment whatever you want along the way as well. I want to see Miner Nation in those comments. Now, let's get into it. Let's meet our head coach. We're going to create our own, and we're going to be a recruiter, and, well, you've actually already met your head coach. Something a little bit different here on my channel. It's me! Sort of. This is the closest I could get to what I look like, I guess, in-game. There wasn't really a head that matched my hairstyle and facial hair right now. But anyways, this is me. I'm gonna be the head coach in this story. Usually my coaches are either former players or a character I choose, but for this series, I want to feel as though I'm making the decisions and taking the job down in El Paso, so I'm going to be accepting that role and taking charge of UTEP, and we're going to run the pro-style offense, Arizona's playbook. It's the most fun I've had with a playbook so far in this game. I love it. I'm a little bit more used to it now. 4-2-5 defense. Alma mater is UConn from the state of Connecticut. Southwest Texas is our pipeline. That's going to give us the recruits closest to home, and any recruits from Texas are always a big deal for a team in Texas, being one of many. Obviously, we want to be a little bit aggressive on offense. That's the way I like to do things around here. And let's keep going. Looking at UTEP's recent history, obviously it's not very good. Last winning season was 2021. They made a bowl and lost it, and they haven't won a bowl game in a long time. You see all these records. It's been a very mediocre last 20-25 years for UTEP. It's been mediocre for a long time for this school, so I'm going to sign the contract and take on this challenge. So now we're in the dynasty. Let's learn a little bit more about UTEP before we meet our miners. UTEP is the University of Texas at El Paso. Where is El Paso, you may be wondering? If you see Texas, then you can see El Paso, which is the exact western corner of Texas that borders Mexico. El Paso is the largest U.S.-Mexico border city. El Paso means the pass in Spanish. It's the second largest majority Hispanic city in the U.S. 81% of El Paso is Hispanic, which basically means 81% of the people from El Paso were born in the U.S. but come from a Hispanic background, making it a very diverse culture within the city, especially since it borders Mexico. Now, let's talk more about UTEP. I know I'm definitely going to miss some things on here, but this is what I consider relevant to the series. So, the school originated in 1913 as the Texas State School of Mines. In 1949, the school became Texas Western. In 1966, Texas Western shocked the world of college basketball when they beat top-ranked Kentucky to win the national championship. Under the leadership of head coach Don Haskins, I think there's actually a movie about it that's pretty good. They beat a really, really amazing Kentucky team, and that is still to this day one of the biggest upset stories in all of sports history. The year after they made history, in 1967, the school changed its name again to what it is today, what we know it as, UTEP. There's another thing to know about 1967 with UTEP, though. That was the last time the UTEP football program won a bowl game, which is the longest streak in college football. UTEP has made it to 7 bowl games since 1967. That's not the issue. The issue is finishing the job. They haven't won any of those. So among the many things I hope to accomplish with UTEP in this series, we absolutely want to win a bowl game with the Miners. Now, we gotta remember I've chosen a 1-star prestige school, so we've got a long way to go before we reach that goal, so for now, let's meet the Miners. In a recent poll, Fox Sports' RJ Young did ranking all 134 college football teams. You look at it here, and this UTEP Miners team was ranked 126th, or 9th worst in college football, so there's a long way to go and climb that ladder until we change this for the better. Let's go over some of these players you see on the first page, and obviously Maurice Westmoreland is the star of the show here in El Paso. 86 overall is the highest rated player by far on this team. Led the team with 11 tackles for loss and 7.5 sacks last year. He was absolutely one of the best players on this team, and it's shown with his overall, but he is a senior, so we're going to be losing him after this year. Luckily, what I'm seeing is our second best player is a sophomore. He's a redshirt from Georgia, Xavier Smith, who's a hybrid strong safety, who's very fast. I love me some speed on defense. You know what? I love me some speed all over the field. 94 speed for Xavier Smith. I can tell he's going to be flying around. He's going to be involved a lot. I've noticed when you don't have a very good defense, safeties are relied upon a lot in the pass and the run, so I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of Xavier Smith. Corey Chapman, probably the exact same story. Recruited him out of Alabama. He's a senior, so we will be losing him at free safety, but 90 speed is really great. He's going to be seen a lot on the field. Otis Pitts, right guard, senior. We're going to be losing to him. Javon Jackson, who's going to be our star in the backfield. He's a junior. He's a redshirt, and he transferred from Austin Peay, who is in the FCS. He led the Governors last season with over 1,300 yards on 252 rushing attempts, 10 touchdowns, and played 12 games last year. He had 7 100-yard rushing efforts last year. So Javon Jackson comes from a pretty decorated FCS career. Now he's transferred to Division I with UTEP, and we're going to look forward to using him. He's a 5'8" elusive back. Doesn't really have breakaway speed, but he's definitely going to be shifty and able to break away from some tackles time to time. Got a senior corner, Josiah Allen, and we've got a sophomore running back, Darian Trish, and then a couple of senior linemen. But let's go position by position now. And at quarterback, we've got a decision to make. Skylar Locklear is a sophomore. He's a redshirt from North Carolina. 5'11", little undersized for a quarterback, but that's okay. He seems pretty quick. Cade McConnell is the other option. Both the same overall. Cade McConnell has been starting for UTEP. He's a junior now, and he's from Los Alamitos, California. He's probably going to be the starter at the start of the season, but this is truly going to be a 50-50 toss-up for most games. If Cade McConnell starts off and he's not playing well and he's throwing a lot of picks, Skylar Locklear might get a lot of playing time this season. But the thing I want to mention, JP Pickles, one of my favorite names I've seen in this game so far.
I'm Pickle Rick!
He's a freshman scrambling quarterback from Florida, and I think he's definitely going to develop. He's not necessarily very fast right now. For a 3-star prospect, he's actually not that good, but with that kind of name, how can we not hope to make him a legend someday? Not going to start this year, but if we don't like what we see from Cade, from Skylar, Kevin Hurley's not going to be the third stringer anyways this year because he's a senior. I want to give JP Pickles some snaps this year. Who knows? We may see him next year. Just depends on how he develops. Just depends on how these two quarterbacks do. I would assume that one of them might transfer after this year. But we've got 6 quarterbacks on this roster. We've also got Ricky Devlin, who's a scrambler. He's actually quite fast at 6'3", from Texas. And Jeff Tracy, who's an improviser quarterback. He's a sophomore from Indiana. So all underclassmen at quarterback except for Hurley. we're not going to have to recruit a quarterback unless we find one that really wants to come to us and is a pretty high star rated quarterback. Running back, we already talked about Javon Jackson. He's probably going to be the star of the show. I love to run the ball. I love to give it to our star running back. But we're also going to mix in Darian Trish for sure. He's 5'9". He's not necessarily got that breakaway speed. Very similar player to Javon Jackson, actually, but he's a sophomore, so he's got a lot of time to develop. And if we can really get him going this season, who knows? Maybe he can end up being our guy. But we're not going to lose either of our top 2 running backs, which is nice. Neither of them are seniors. We are going to lose Taven Randall, who's a 6-foot elusive running back. He doesn't look very good. None of these players are very good. We're just going based off of relativity to the other players on this roster, to be honest. Wayne Strong's a sophomore, 6 foot tall. He looks pretty slow. We don't really have any fast running backs per se. Change of direction is also a stat I like looking at, and agility, just with how many outside runs I like to do, but not seeing anything impressive from Lance Barnes or Isaiah Wall either. No fullback on the roster. Might want to change that. I do use fullbacks once in a while, especially for blocking, especially for fullback dives and whatnot. We run all the plays in the offense with this kind of team. Now let's talk receiver. Jaden Smith is our top target. It looks like 72 overall is not very good. This wide receiver core is really bad, to be honest. But Jaden Smith is a senior redshirt who transferred from Eastern Kentucky. He had almost 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns over 3 years there. He's 5'10", but he is a deep threat. Any player that's 90+ speed at receiver is going to be fairly useful for me for sure. Gotta have a little bit of breakaway speed, and Trey Goodman's got that. Another transfer from Austin P. Him and Javon Jackson were teammates at Austin P. They both transferred to UTEP, and Trey Goodman is a great receiver. He was the top receiver for Austin P before he transferred here to UTEP. He's got a lot more speed than Jaden Smith, more change of direction, agility. He's quick, so get him in open space. He could be a little bit dangerous. But looking down the board at our receiving core, it is not necessarily good to start with, and we're already going to lose our top 2 guys. Both Goodman and Smith are seniors. Amari White is a junior, luckily. He's a deep threat, 6 foot tall. Hopefully we'll see a good amount of him this year so we can develop him leading into his last year with us. Giovanni Gardere is a deep threat as well. He's a sophomore. Luckily, we have a lot more time to develop him, but 65 overall. After our top 3 receivers, it really starts to drop off. Ashton Nickelberry is a great name, but, I mean, he just looks okay. And then we start to drop off to a 59 overall Dylan Goddard, who is a 6'3" deep threat, but these overalls drop off very quickly. Devin Claxton, also a 58. Corey Foster, Lucas Flores, Taylor Perez, and Johnny Mayo, who's a 6'5" deep threat, but 52 overall. It drops off a lot. Safe to say, we'll be recruiting multiple receivers. Tight end, Judah Izinwa is a sophomore. Thank God, and he's actually a 70 overall, so he's going to be a very serviceable offensive option for us. Gotta love using the tight end in the offense when you run a pro-style offense. And Judah Izinwa is going to be very useful for us, no matter who's at quarterback. He's not necessarily that fast, but he's 6'3", looks like he has good hands, and he's a sophomore, so he'll have time to develop. Julian Lopez is a blocking tight end. He's a senior, and he's not very fast. Doesn't seem like we're going to get much use out of him. He might catch a ball or two this season. Hitchens is a senior as well. We're going to be losing him. Martavius Collins, great name, from Georgia. He's a freshman, so he's got a little bit of time to develop, and he's a big dude, 6'4", 265. And then we've got Luke Sieb, Josh Schutz, Angelo Tejada, who's only 5'11", but 72 speed. Doesn't seem like he's good for a wide receiver or tight end. That's sad. And Josh Hancock, who looks like a wide receiver that just has to turn to tight end here with 76 speed, but he's only 5'9". God, that can't be accurate. I don't know. I've never seen a 5'9" tight end in my life. Maybe we can convert a guy like him to fullback. One of these tight ends can probably play fullback and probably can be very successful there. Offensive line-wise, we are old at the top, and we do have 2 freshmen who can hopefully develop a little bit, but Isaiah Wright's our starter. Left guard, luckily we've got some room to grow here. Sterling Springs is a 67. He's got 1 more year left. Jake Riggs and Jerry Potts are both freshmen, which is good to have some young guys on the O-line. Hopefully they develop a little bit. Senior, we're looking good. Obviously not overall-wise, but Cody Barwin is a 65 overall sophomore, so he's definitely got some time to grow. But we are going to scout and recruit all kinds of offensive linemen because we really don't have any stars here other than Otis Pitts, and he's a 77 overall, which is great but he's a senior. And then at right tackle, we do look decent here, but 2 juniors. So like I said, always and always going to be recruiting lots of offensive linemen in this dynasty. Defensive line, we're absolutely going to need help as well, because we've got seniors on both edges. Devin Goree, who's a 70. Jalen Jones is pretty good. He's a speed rusher freshman, which is nice to have, knowing we're going to lose Goree, but still probably going to want to look for at least 2 edge guys, because Maurice Westmoreland is outstanding. He's going to be our best player, which is going to be fun for us, but we're losing him after this year. He's a senior. Rapola's a senior. Washington's a junior, and Atkins is a freshman, but he's a 60 overall, so gonna need a lot of help on the edges. We're gonna need a lot of help up in the middle on defense. This team is pretty old. It's actually gonna be a much needed recruiting class, which is exciting. A lot of the players we're going to bring in, we're going to get to see and maybe even use. Sione Tonga Uiha, our D tackle from Arizona, is a 74. He's great. KD Johnson is great, but they're both seniors. So we're going to be relying on Quinzavius Warren, great name, who's going to be our starting D tackle next year. And past that, we've got Ashton Coker and Logo Va'a. What a name! Logo Va'a is a sophomore run stopper, so hopefully these 3 can actually suffice if we can only get 1 or 2 D tackle in recruiting, but we're at least going to need 1, knowing we're losing our 2 best. And we're at least going to need multiple outside linebackers, knowing we just have 1, and he's a junior at left outside linebacker. Right outside linebacker, luckily, we do have a freshman starting. He's not very good, but room to grow there. Unfortunately, Trey Dunson is a senior, but goddamn, 90 speed for an outside linebacker who loves to do pass coverage. That's my kind of linebacker, but he is a senior, and Beal is a freshman, so still definitely going to need to recruit some outside linebackers. By God, we're going to have to recruit middle linebackers as well. We need basically every position is what I'm learning. Dorian Hopkins is going to be our senior middle linebacker, who's probably going to run the show on defense a lot. Jake Hall might end up at outside linebacker or something, just because we have so little depth there, and we run a 4-3 kind of, so we are going to need help at linebacker as much as possible, it seems. Antoine Williams looks solid, but he's a junior. And Robert Huntington actually has some potential. 80 speed, 88 acceleration for a pass coverage middle linebacker, and he's only a sophomore. Cornerback, same story as basically every defensive position. Our defense is old.
Why are you so old?
Okay, I'm on it.
And honestly, when I was choosing this dynasty, I did notice that, and I actually do like that, because that means there's a lot of turnover, a lot of chance to grow with a team that we've never seen at UTEP, that people have never seen at UTEP, because we're going to have to bring in recruits. There's no doubt about that. We're going to lose Josiah Allen. Yes, man, Green. Great name, from Alabama. He's a senior. John Burris is a junior. We're going to get him next year, but we're losing Anthony Odoms, who's a senior as well. Chris Sermon's a junior. Jalen Shelton's a junior. Charles Givens is a junior, and 2 sophomores to round it out. We're probably going to have to not only bring in corners in recruiting, but I would want to target corners in the transfer portal as well. Corey Chapman looks like a baller, but he's a senior. Devin Harold looks like a solid player. He's a sophomore, could develop hopefully a little bit more and help us out. Michael Ray doesn't have a face. No face going on there, but he does look like a solid player with pretty decent speed and good size at free safety. Strong safety, we already talked about Xavier Smith. He's a sophomore. He's going to be the star of our defense for a long time, it seems, at this point. Hopefully we get 3 good years of him with his 94 speed. We're going to lose Jace Hunter, though. We're going to have 2 more years of Will Westbrook and 1 more year of Lyle Frazier after this one. But we got a lot of work to do in recruiting on defense. Kicker, luckily, we are set. We've got 2 kickers on the roster. Buzz Flabiano, what a name. He's a sophomore. Could be an incredible kicker of the future here at UTEP. Hopefully he's making important kicks for this team very soon. And we've got a freshman punter, so we don't have to worry about that kind of thing in recruiting, because Adam Jacqueline's going to be launching him off his right foot if we can't get a first down. That is going to take us through the team right there. You've seen all the minors now that we have all across our roster, and you know exactly what we needed on a recruiting board. We basically need everything, so it is time to set up the recruiting board. I've got some work to do to file through this list and find us some names. I'll catch up with you in a little bit and we'll see who we've found. Alright, so the board is fully set up. We're gonna go position by position and see what names we've added to the board. But basically this week is about scouting and trying to find gems like we found here with Sergio D'Imperio. But this week for me is really about trying to find 3-star prospects that are gems. But for now, we've offered our 35 scholarships. Let's go through the board and start at quarterback with Barry Gatto, who's already interested in us, so we might as well take a shot on him. He's an athlete, and he's a scrambler. I love having an athlete at quarterback. I love fast guys. The accuracy, the decision-making, that's all on us anyways. At running back, I already showed you Sergio D'Imperio from Cypress, Texas. He is a gem, so I hope we end up high on his board. Sidney Hartman, we're already high on his board, so since we found a gem here, Sidney Hartman's kind of just backup, just in case one of these 2 guys gets offers. And then at wide receiver, we've got 5 guys on the board, 2 4-stars that we've offered scholarships to, just taking a shot and seeing if they get any other offers. But Timmy Schooler, Damon Sahara, both receivers from Texas, and then we've got Artie LaRue, which we found is a gem. Juan Quachia is a gem as well from Arizona, would love to have him. Espinoza is really just a receiver from Texas. He's a little guy. I like to mix in some little receivers who can catch the ball over the middle and maybe make some guys miss. Taylor Espinoza being that one here. And we're already 4th on his board, so might as well keep going with him. Got 2 tight ends on the board. Ramon East from Texas, who's a vertical threat. I prefer to find vertical threat tight ends as they do have higher speed, and I like to use tight ends in the passing game. And then Stan Cager, who we are 4th on his board, so might as well get going there. 3 scholarships for offensive tackles. We've got Otis Bowling, who we're 6th on his board. Haven't scouted any of these guys. Andre Small and Nick Silberman. For guard, we've got Ben Torres, Jordan Bonea, and Ciante Levy all on their boards already, which is what we want. This guy I actually scouted because he's an athlete and a center, and I've found those to be usually very good prospects. This guy looks like he could be a future star on the offensive line for UTEP, so I'm praying Isaac Carswell doesn't get any other offers. We're already 4th on his board, and he's a gem. Basically, what's good to know about gem versus bust, we did find a few busts in our scouting, but gems have higher development traits, and they will grow quicker than busts. It doesn't mean busts have low overalls. You might find a bust with really high speed and really good overall, but they just may not develop as quickly, which is still fine. Some busts are okay, but we didn't keep any here. Mick Bridge, we're already on his board, looking at D-end here, and we've got Brady Cushing, who's a speed rusher from Missouri. We're not on his board, but we are recommended to scout him, so gonna take a look at him. And then D-tackle, we've got Tracy Alexander, Joshua Fink, and John Gonzalez. John Rowland is a gem from Arkansas that we've kept on our board. He's a pass coverage linebacker, and he's fast. He's absolutely looking like a gem in many ways. He's great in zone coverage, decent tackling, not very good in man coverage, but in general, he looks like an athletic outside linebacker who can cover it in the pass, and that's what we want. And then other than that, we just found some other pass coverage guys to add to the board, like Brian Garcia, who are already on his board, Craig Cooks, and Kenyon Nevis already on his board as well. Middle linebacker, we found a gem as well here. This is a position I really want to nail with a recruiting gem, and we've got one, Cesar Vega. Really good tackling rating, but he's fast. That's what we want in our linebacker position. We want to be able to fly around the field in zone coverage and make tackles, and Cesar Vega looks like an absolute gem for sure. And then we've got 2 guys that were recommended, Ronnie Kugbila and Manuel Sendejo from Texas. Really hoping some of these gems stay near the top of our boards. And you know we need corners. I've added 4 to the board. We're really just going to take a shot at any 3-star corners. We're going to look for 4 stars next week that don't have offered because we really do want to improve this position in the future. Since we're pretty old currently, we're going to be losing a lot of guys. But we've got Ben Henches, Manu Bua from California, Ben Jose from Texas, and Kevin Rubio from California at corner. And then another gem that we've kept on our board, Denton Ladd from Arizona. This dude is fast. 91 speed at free safety is exactly what we want. I could see him being a ball hawk Really hoping we stay on his board and are his only offer next week. And then just a strong safety to add to the board, Lawrence Choi from Texas. I'm not going to rank those prospects in order yet. I know we have a lot of gems on there, and that's good, but we're going to advance to next week after we look at our schedule and then see how that board changes a little bit, because there are going to be a lot of offers made to a lot of those players you saw. But looking at our schedule for the season, I don't think I'm going to touch this very much at all. So we open up at Nebraska. That's where UTEP opens up this season at Memorial Stadium. That's going to be a fun one for sure. We're going to play that next episode, and we're also going to play FCS Midwest next episode. And FCS Midwest is Southern Utah in real life. That's who UTEP is going to be playing in real life to open up their season at the Sun Bowl, a 50,000 plus seater stadium. That's absolutely beautiful. We'll get to see that for the first time next episode. After we head to Nebraska, we'll come home for FCS Midwest, and then we're right into Conference USA play against probably the best team in Conference USA. We're going to go to Liberty this season, and then we're going to go to Colorado State. A lot of road games to open up this season. Bye week, and then we're right into all the thick of the Conference USA schedule against our arch nemesis, Sam Houston State. We'll be playing them at the Sun Bowl, beat them last year, even though UTEP was not very good last year. And then we've got Western Kentucky on the road, FIU at the Sun Bowl, La Tech on the road, and then we finish off against Middle Tennessee State, Kennesaw State at home, and then we go to Tennessee, who is going to be our biggest opponent for sure in this Dynasty first season at Neyland Stadium. That's going to be a tough one. Going to be some fun action, though. And then we finish off at New Mexico State, just a 30-minute drive up the highway to Las Cruces, New Mexico, where we will finish off our season. Now let's advance to the next week and see how our recruiting board has changed. Alright, so a week has gone by. The board has definitely changed, and a lot of good news for UTEP, but definitely some guys that are going to be leaving the board. Let's do the bad news first. Who's going to be leaving the board? Unfortunately, we're going to be losing both of our 4-star receivers off of the board. Schooler and Sahara both have a lot of offers, and I don't know if we can compete with those schools that are near the top. Offensive guard, we're looking okay, but Ciante Levy, I don't think we're going to want to go for him. At defensive end, we're going to lose Brady Cushing off of the board. Tulsa's pushed hard. They're definitely in first, and he's nearing his top 8, and he doesn't really even consider us in his top 8. D-tackle, we're going to lose Tracy Alexander off of the board. Air Force has pushed hard. They're probably going to be way ahead once he gets to his top 8. But luckily, Joshua Fink, we are going to be able to go after. But we're going to lose John Gonzalez as well. 3 schools coming after him, and we're not even on his board yet. So we would have to push hard for him, but we're only going to be able to send the house and really go after so many recruits at this point. The only outside linebacker we're going to lose is Craig Cooks off of the board, at least. We're really going to have to push for John Rowland. Indiana came out hot for him, but I just really love the way he looks, so we're going to push for him. We're going to push for Brian Garcia, but we're going to lose Craig Cooks off of the board. We're not going to be able to spend enough time on him to catch up. We're going to lose Ronnie Kugbila as well. And then the only other player we're losing off of the board is our strong safety, who literally locked us out, and I have no idea why. So we'll have to try to find a new strong safety and a new bunch of other positions, but luckily we are first and have moved up the board on a lot of players. The Imperio wants us, and that's exciting. Hartman, we're first on, and we might lose that battle with Arizona, but at least the Imperio we can go after for sure. Good news with LaRue, one of our gem receivers. We can go after him. Quachia likes us. We can go after him. No other competing offers. Same thing for Espinoza. Same thing for Ramon East, who has no other offers other than us, which we like. Cager, we've moved into first, so tight ends are looking good. Otis Bowling, we are second. We've moved up his board. Andre Small, we're gonna go after him. We are second. It's not by much. Same thing with Silberman. We're not gonna push as hard for him as we are for Andre Small, but the two of them are in a very similar scenario to each other for recruiting, so we'll see if we can beat out UNLV for one of those two. Ben Torres, we are fifth on his board, but it is not by much, and he's not really at his top 8 yet, so we're one of 5 offers, and I want to push ahead for Ben Torres. And then there's Jordan Bonea. Honestly, same thing. We're going to go towards his top 8, and we're going to give it our all and see if UTEP can push into his top school as he starts to dwindle down his lists. Very exciting news. One of my favorite prospects on this list, Isaac Carswell, hasn't reached his top 8 yet. but we are absolutely his top school. No other offers. Mick Bridge, our D-end power rusher, likes us from Kentucky. Joshua Fink, like I said, we're going to push for him. He's got no other offers. John Rowland, I'm really going to try to push Indiana since that's his only other offer and he's not at his top 8 yet. Brian Garcia, who I think if we push with him, knowing that he's already in his top 8, I think we can push ahead of Air Force and New Mexico State. Luckily, at outside linebacker, though, we are first on Kenyon Nevis's list, and we gotta push and land him if we can. And exciting news as well at middle linebacker, Cesar Vega, the gem that we did find who's fast. He looks like a great pass coverage middle linebacker. We are first on his list, as he's reached his top 8 already. Manuel Sendejo, another middle linebacker we can go after, doesn't have any other competing offers, so we're gonna keep pushing for that other middle linebacker. All of our corners, I think we are in good position with Manu Bua we can get, Ben Jose we can get, Kevin Rubio we can get on top of Ben Henches. And last but not least, one of my favorite prospects, again, another gem. He's wicked fast. I already talked about that. He's a gem. He's got no other offers on his board, so UTEP's coming, baby. We want Denton Ladd, but let's add a few more names to this board to replace the guys we're losing. So, we have added some new names to the board, and we've assigned all of our hours for the week. Let's roll through it. Clayton Sullivan is now our #1 recruit out of Colorado. He's a safety. He's a hybrid safety, so he kind of replaces our strong safety we were going after, and he's our only 4-star on the board now. 4 stars, when I played this game for the first few weeks, were a lot easier to get because there were more guys that got no offers after 1 week, but now it seems like all 4 stars are drawing a lot of attention. But Clayton Sullivan is far from his top 8, and he actually has us as his 9th school, so we're going to push, we're going to send the house for him, hopefully get into first for him. And then Artie LaRue is our 2nd recruit. We're going to send the house for him, hopefully be his top school after simming a week. Isaac Carswell is one of our top recruits. Being far from his top 8, though, that's how we're assigning minutes. If players are close to their top 8 or are in their top 8, we are highly prioritizing them more if we have other offers to compete with. But since we're not near Carswell's top 8 and we're his only offer, we're not going to put in any minutes. For a guy like John Rowland, who we really want, he's a gem outside linebacker, I think we can push Indiana. He's not at his top 8 schools yet, so we're going to send the house, see if we can get to 2nd or even jump Indiana into 1st. Ben Torres, a lineman I know we really like and we really want, we're amongst the mix of his schools, so we're going to send the house, and I think we should be able to jump 4 through 1, we should be able to go in first with how much interest we've already gathered. Ben Henches, we don't have to put in any minutes because we don't have any competing offers. That's kind of how I'm going to have to operate, knowing how little hours we have to recruit per week. Manu Bua, we're ahead by a very little bit, so we're going to put in 25 minutes worth of time, contact his friends and family, and hopefully that's enough influence to keep us ahead of UNLV in 2nd. These are probably our top 2 corners that we want to go after. Otis Bowling, we're just behind Colorado State. He's already in his top 8. I really want Otis Bowling. He's our top tackle on the board, so we're going to send the house. We're going to see if we can really get ahead of Colorado State there. Jordan Bonea, look at all those offers. Obviously, he's a good player. He's a good guard, and we want as many offensive linemen as possible, I think. So we're going to try to jump UTSA and Air Force into first by sending the house. With Kenyon Nevis, we are in first. We just want to contact his friends and family. Hopefully, as he reaches his top 8, that'll keep us ahead of Air Force. Garcia, I want to push, maybe get into his top school with 25 minutes, but with so many competing offers, let's just see what 25 minutes does. Seiko, we just added to the board. He's a speed rushing end who doesn't have any offers. He could be very good. 6'4" speed rusher from Hawaii. Grimes, we just added to the board. Power rusher out of Georgia. This guy is new. Dimu Keje, just taking a chance on another hybrid safety just in case we don't get that 4-star. And then Hartman rounds out our lists. I'm thinking Arizona's going to push ahead there, so we might lose out on Sidney Hartman. That's okay, though. Let's sim a week. And I'm already seeing first for a lot of interest, but most importantly, Clayton Sylvan at the top of that list. But let's go check out for sure what's going on in recruiting. And yes, we have pushed ahead into Clayton Sylvan's top school, so a 4-star recruit is able to come to UTEP if we send the house. We are able to push into first, so we can check out some other 4-stars and see if we can come from behind there if they're far from their top 8, but Clayton Sylvan's already in his top 8, and we are his top school, so we're going to have to keep sending the house there. Artie LaRue sending the house was a good idea. We are in first. We can probably take away almost all of those minutes and maybe just DM him this week so we can use those minutes on other guys we may have to send the house on, because for now, we are first for Artie LaRue. Still first, no other offers for Carswell. Same thing for Vega, looking good there. John Rowland, absolutely electric. We have just jumped Indiana into first, so UTEP, now that he's in his top 8, are his top school for now since we sent the house. Probably going to have to spend more time on John Rowland, but we know how good he can be, so let's keep pushing. I'm liking that we pushed into first there. That's a good sign. Pushed into first with Ben Torres. That's a good sign as well. Manu Bua doing just 25 minutes kept us ahead of UNLV, which is good to see. Otis Bowling, we absolutely jumped Colorado State way ahead into first, and he's almost in his top 5, almost ready for a visit already, so we're moving quickly on Otis Bowling, and that's exactly why we spent those 50 minutes and sent the house. Bonea, we jumped those 3 schools, and we're into first. Really good job from UTEP to send the house and get into his top school, and we're nearing his top 5 as well. Kenyon Nevis, 25 minutes was enough. We're still ahead of Air Force. Garcia, we have jumped with 25 minutes spent only. We have jumped from 4th, I think, into 1st. Brian Garcia's got a lot of offers, but we are pushing ahead, and I like that a lot. Alright, last thing here. We've readjusted the board one more time. We're obviously going to continue to send the house on Clayton Sullivan, our only 4-star recruit. See if we can land him and bring him home. Gotta stay ahead of Colorado and Kansas State. Some good schools there. Artie LaRue, we're just going to DM him. Stay ahead there as much as we can. Keep contacting one of our top receiver recruits. Isaac Carswell, our center recruit who we really love, just 5 minutes. I definitely want to give him a little bit of love, but Cesar Vega, we're already in his top 8, looking good there. Keep pushing. We're going to keep sending the house with John Rowland until we get a little bit of breathing room from Indiana, hopefully, and we'll see how that race goes. Ben Torres, we don't have to push as hard, but we still want to push. 25 minutes to him. Ben Henches, gonna give him 25 minutes, see if we can just get into that top 8. Manu Bua, 25 minutes worked last week. We're gonna try it again this week. Otis Bowling is very close to his top 5. He's the closest to his top 5 of anybody on our board, so we really want to send the house and continue to stay ahead of Colorado State there, and then a visit can seal that deal. Haven't spent any time here, and then Bonea, we're going down to 25. Kenyon Nevis, we're going to go down to 10 because we really pushed ahead of Air Force there. Joshua Fink is one of our 2 new guys that we're going to be sending the house on since we've readjusted our minutes. Really want to push into that top 8, and sending the house is probably going to make us his top school, which we want. Silberman, we didn't put a lot of time into, and neither did UNLV. Nearing his top 8, he's actually the tackle we're going to go after over Andre Small, instead of getting into a race with UNLV for him. And Ramon East is the other player we're going to send the house on and really try to get to his top school. A player from Texas, a vertical threat tight end, a player that I would really think we would love to have. But that's going to do it here for this first episode with the Miners. We've met the Miners, we've learned about UTEP, we've done some recruiting and set up our board and started to see what the future of this football program could potentially look like. Next episode, we are going to play at Nebraska at Memorial Stadium. It's going to be a fun one, big time opener for UTEP, real good test to see just how good we are with this team. And then the week after that, we'll play FCS Midwest. We're going to do both of those games next episode. But until that next episode with the Miners picks up, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for some football here on this channel. You'll get to see this team in action. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed what we're doing here and you're looking forward to a bright future for the blue and orange from El Paso. Thank you guys for watching. As always, this has been Therios. You'll never walk alone.